What's up YouTube, Capital G here, giving you guys another big look into the Fatal Core trading card game. Some of you guys might remember that I actually promoted Fatal Core last year. I did a full video on it. I talked about some of the mechanics, some of the things that I really enjoyed about Fatal Core. It was kind of an introduction video for anyone who was looking for a really nice, awesome card game. And recently, the people at Fatal Core reached out to me, and thank you for sponsoring this video. They have done some really big things in the last year. Most notably, this game is getting a release on Steam. That's scheduled for early next year, 2021. A ton of people are looking forward to that. They've added some new characters. You guys will see me go over the characters like Prisoner 218 and then Hush, and basically some of the variety that they've added into the game. They've kind of overhauled the interface, because Fatal Core's interface was always pretty good, but it definitely wasn't this good. Now, the core mechanics and the gameplay has remained, but they have expanded on the number of cards, so they're giving more variety. A lot of the things that I did initially like about Fatal Core, the simultaneous gameplay, the fact that there is no going first advantage, which, I mean, that kind of seems to be a little bit of a problem in basically every card game, but in Fatal Core, you actually play simultaneously. The battle phase happens at the same time, which is really interesting, and it makes it so you have to essentially try to predict what your opponent what your enemy and opponent is going to do. So you see right here, I'm just kind of scrolling through. I'm showing you guys the basic interface of Fatal Core, and I have actually a bunch of cards. Now, you may not start with all these cards, but of course, everything on Fatal Core is 100% free. You do not have to pay anything to obtain cards. Even like this is my favorite card in the game. She is so good because of that special ability, which does burn damage, or it inflicts damage to your opponent's creatures, which is absolutely amazing. She can actually do damage to 2 of them. That is why she is an S tier card. And the balance in this game, when it comes to deck building, has always been something that strikes me as like really fascinating, and a really good design, because they only allow you, like, they grade all the cards with certain power levels. You see A, B, C, A, or A, B, C, S, but they only allow you a certain amount of those cards in any given deck that you're building, no matter how many of those cards that you have. So it feels like there's a lot of balance, because it means you're not going to get rolled over by somebody who plays Fatal Core just because they've been playing longer, and just because they have, they've opened more packs than you, or they have more cards. It always feels like there's a fair opportunity for both players, and that skill is ultimately going to be the biggest deciding factor. So you can see right here, I'm just scrolling through my deck, and Fatal Core, of course, has 2 types of cards. You have your spell cards, and then you have your creatures. The creatures are the cards that go on the field, and then the spell cards are effects that amplify the creatures and do things to your opponent. Sometimes they buff you, sometimes they debuff your opponent. You can see right here that I'm opening packs, and you can get PF and EF points just for playing the game, for logging on. There are so many different bonuses going on, and honestly, they have really upped. I think that they have really upped their tournament game, because there were always like players who were playing Fatal Core, but the community has definitely started expanding. In fact, it's expanded so much that they're actually doing monthly tournaments now, where anyone can participate in these monthly tournaments, and they have a minimum prize pool of $300. So if you just like playing Fatal Core and you get addicted to it, you're just having fun playing it, you can essentially just win a tournament every month and just take away $300 and do whatever you want with that. That is your money to keep. So I thought that was actually really awesome. And right now, they're really pushing the game hard as they, finish out this beta phase and release to Steam, or their plans to release to Steam. So they're looking and they're expecting to grow their community. Now, the online marketplace was something I talked about in my first video, and this is something that I think more games should have. Games that are, these online trading card games, they need to have these marketplaces where you own the cards, you can sell them, or you can trade them to other, players of the game. You can set your price so that hey, I'm not taking less than this. It kind of removes some of the haggling that can be kind of annoying when trading, players at your locals and stuff like that. Now, this is the tutorial. Because of course, if you've never played Fatal Core, you don't want to just jump into a game and be overwhelmed and not know what the heck it is that you're doing. Basically, you're trying to drop your opponent's life to 0. However, after 12 turns, the game does automatically end. Whoever has the higher life at that point does win. It shows you the breakdown, the card rank, the name, the power, the HP. You got to make sure that you're looking at both of those because, again, the battle phase does happen simultaneously. And I like it because 12 turns is good enough for you to feel like you had an exciting battle, but it's not so long that it ever feels like it's getting drawn out and boring and it's a stalemate and neither player can really do anything. So I feel like they hit that perfect number, and I think that was something that was really it really keeps the games fresh and it keeps the games very enjoyable. Now, this is the way that you can play. You can spectate, you can hop into a ranked match, or you can just play against the AI. This is what I do when I want to refresh my skills and make sure I have everything. Now, they do have a system where you get your opening hand of 6 cards, and you can mulligan this hand. If you don't like it, you can mulligan it. It's very interesting in terms of the gameplay, how they have it where you basically can see all the cards in your opponent's hand, except your opening hand, you get to hide a couple of cards. So I have an S card in my hand. It's a spell card, and I'm gonna definitely hide that. I don't want the AI knowing that I have that that card because it's pretty powerful. It can get rid of some of the corpses on my field. Fatal Core doesn't have like a traditional graveyard. When your creatures die, they become corpses on the field, which you can use for different, you can use them for different effects and stuff like that. You see me looking over my hand. The board is really interesting, and every single character has a unique board where there are certain power-ups. You see life there. You also see rage. I summoned my monster or my creature to the life zone, or the zone that's being enhanced by life. The life zone's really cool because as long as a creature inhabits that zone, you actually gain 1 life every single turn. And that, of course, is very important if the game goes to those 12 turns and the player with the higher life is going to win. I feel like it's an advantage that you can definitely use to your favor, and the longer the game goes, the more dividends it pays. The AI who is playing the prisoner, they put their creature in the MM zone, and that's Mana Magnet. That's a special ability where if I try to activate any of my spells, it'll automatically soak up, like it'll basically kind of give itself up to negate that spell. So that's really interesting. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to summon my first S tier creature. I'm going to put that in the Rage zone. And you play spells simultaneously too. You can see I summoned that creature and they played their spell basically at the same time. So I am going to, well, I lost one of my creatures, which is kind of unfortunate, but there are ways of, taking the corpses off the field. And when your creature does die, it holds up that zone. It basically blocks that zone until you can remove it. But at this point, I can't really use any spells. I'm going to summon. They're going to activate a spell, it seems. Can't use any spells because it will just be absorbed. So they're doing a lot of damage on me. And they actually forced the card back into my hand and made me draw a new card. And they ended up hitting my S tier card, which really, really was unfortunate. I like Fatal Core because it really feels like, like skill basically determines who is going to win in this game. You have to know your deck, obviously, but you have to know your opponent. And with you getting to see your opponent's hand, and during the draw phase, you do have the option of showing your opponent a card or hiding it. You get to hide 1 card each game, so it adds even more strategy. Like, it makes it so that you kind of have to predict what your opponent is going to do next. And I really love that aspect. It feels like it's not very RNG based. It's not like, oh, I just got a lucky card. Now you can see my Hierophant. She's going to work. She does damage to random monsters or random creatures on my opponent's field every single turn. You can see that she's firing those little laser balls. I also have a card that can turn my opponent's creatures, or it turns them into soulless. It gives them, I guess, the soulless status. There are multiple statuses in this TCG. Soulless basically nullifies their special abilities, so it kind of makes them just vanilla monsters basically, and that's something I like. I'm gonna go ahead and activate a spell here. It looks like we're both activating spells. Again, gameplay is simultaneously, and this is going to, bam, do some damage right there. We're going to turn that into a corpse, and then we're also going to get rid of that one as well. So that's looking really good. Now, I did get this haunt spell. It looks really good because it lets me erase one of my corpses, and then I can start summoning some creatures in those zones, which is definitely really nice, you know, because I feel like if your board ever gets too clogged and you don't have any, you know, zones, it can be a problem. Now she did summon to the mana magnet, so that was unfortunate. It canceled out my spell, but look at the card. The card that I just drew was perfect because this card specifically has the ability that when it's summoned, it can erase all my corpses, and then it gets powered up by those by the amount of corpses that you know, it actually took to summon it. So it kind of clears my board, and then it powers itself up at the same time. I love that card. I think you got to run that card if you're going to be doing a lot of battle. I think you definitely have to do that card. My Hierophant did ultimately die, which was it was kind of unfortunate, but it's fine. We're definitely leading in life points, and you can see I have 59 to the prisoners 11. Now, in a standard game of Fatal Core, both players start with 80 HP. However, when you're in the training mode and you're battling against the bots, they actually lower the HP of the bots, and that's just so you can essentially not get overwhelmed. They want to basically be able to give you Fatal Core with the training wheels. They don't want the bots just hammering you into the ground when you're still learning how to play. You have this board. You also have to, you know, kind of predict what your opponent is going to do. All of the different characters have different abilities. They all have, you know, different play styles. So it definitely feels really nice. And there's a Discord for this game as well. So if you're ever just playing, you know, maybe against like the bots, or you're just kind of confused, you can definitely go to the Discords. You can get freebies in the Discords. You meet up with other friendly players who can answer questions about the game. The community for Fatal Core is growing right now. You can see right here that I am going to activate my spell. I'm pumping up my monsters. When I feel like I have an established board in Fatal Core, that's when I really like I really like to start firing out the spells. It can be dangerous against prisoners specifically because, you know, she has that mana magnet ability. I do have one card in my deck that has that too, but she can just summon any creature to that zone and just eat up one of your spell cards. So that can be, it can be something that's a little like tricky when you're playing against her. I'm gonna now start bringing out the beat stick, and I think we got this one in the bag. Even if I were to lose all my creatures, she only has like 3 hit points left, so I feel like basically anything I do is going to kill her. I could activate, I just actually hid that spell. That was the one that was in my opening hand. That was the one that lets me erase a corpse, but I believe that she would just use her mana magnet ability to kind of suck it up. So either way, I don't really think that I can lose at this point, because her health point, like her hit points, are just too low, and I don't think she's going to even survive a couple more attacks. But you definitely need to check out the Fatal Core. If you guys are looking for a fun, refreshing trading card game, Fatal Core is definitely the way to go. And actually, I totally forgot to mention this, but if you're not a fan of downloading things, like maybe you're just like, you know, Cap, I just want to play something basic, I don't want to have to download a lot of stuff. As you guys saw, I was playing Fatal Core in a browser, so you can just go to fatalcoretcg.com, and everything you need is right there. You can sign up. It's completely free. You can just start getting your deck together, start getting some battles in, you know, probably play against the AI until you kind of get your feet wet, or go to the Discord, you know, talk to some of the members of the community so that you can really start learning. Regardless, all the information that you need to access Fatal Core will be in the description below, guys. So check out Fatal Core and, you know, get out there and start battling.